I think what we want to do is just educate people about the book. Here's a book that has had an influence in practically every area of life. The average person on the street probably has no clue of the degree that this book has impacted their life. So whether it be in the arts or science, education, compassion ministries, civil rights, in all areas of life, this book has had an impact and has an influence. And so we just want to educate people on the book. What is this book's story? The less we know about it, the more we will believe what somebody else tells us the story is of this book. And we need to know for ourselves what this book says and what its story is. And as an example, it says that, to sum up the law is to love God and love our neighbor. If somebody says that this book says something different than that, then they're misleading us as to what the real heart of the story of the book is. We were originally looking in Dallas. We opened it up to New York City and Washington, D.C., because when I looked at the top 10 metros in the U.S., those were the couple of other cities that I thought stood out to me. The mayor of Oklahoma City called up at one point and said, "Why don't you put it here in Oklahoma City?" And, I said, well, for selfish reasons, I would love to do that, but I think we need to be where it will be of most impact. We did a survey, and the survey showed it would be best attended in Washington, D.C. And that really just makes sense. It's the heart of museums in our nation with the Smithsonian's there. People go to D.C. because of the museums, and so it made sense that that's where we would be best attended. The Bible is central to our growing up. We went to church. My grandfather, as a matter of fact, was a minister of the gospel. My mother and her grandmother, they were church-going as well. And so we grew up going to church. It was a part of our life. We would go every Sunday, twice, and Wednesday. My father started the business. It was central in running our business. If you look at the statement of purpose, the first statement is we want to operate our business according to biblical principles because we believe in them. And I would also say that I grew up in a nation that was built on principles founded in the book. The freedoms that we have, the concept that all men are created equal, these are influences that this book has had on my life in the nation that I grew up in the business that I work in, and in the family that I grew up in as well. I read the Bible every day. I made a commitment years ago to God that I would be in His Word every day, and so for years I've done that. I think that the Bible is probably less known today in our nation than it ever has been, and I would argue that it is because we took it out of our schools. It used to be regularly taught in our schools, but in the 60s, with some Supreme Court rulings, it started coming out of our schools. I can show you in my desk what's called a New England Primer, which was what was used for many years in this nation as a beginner book to teach a child how to read. And it regularly used Scripture as part of its teaching. I think that it being foundational to this nation, the more we lose, the less we know of it, the more we're at risk of taking this nation in a different direction than what the founders had originally planned. I suspect as people come in of different faiths and people walk away from their faith, there is influences, an effort within culture to eradicate anything biblical from whether it be the history book or in programming and through the media. We've almost turned to a point where that there's more of an antagonistic view towards the Bible. I think that for the most part we're letting people know that this is not about a faith tradition, a church, or a denomination. It's about a book. And that has been well received by Jewish or Catholic or Protestant faiths, because we're really not trying to speak about our faith as we are teaching the facts about a book. There will be people that have already made their conclusion of what they think about this book. Some love this book and would give their life for it, and some hate this book and would think that a museum is just a waste of time. And so we're going to have both of those. The Bible is a controversial book. Simply put, what our goal is we want to invite all people to engage with this book. We want to educate them about this book, its impact, what its story is, and its history. We have 3 floors in the museum: a history floor showing evidences from archaeological evidence to manuscript, print, to the digital age that we have today, and how the people are engaging with this book even today. And hopefully that as a person leaves there, they will be inspired to say, I need to know this book a little bit better, that has impacted my life in ways that I didn't know, and be inspired to engage with it, to read it, and ultimately see how that they might apply principles from it to their own lives.